Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today we have a very special guest, the king of morning radio and the executive director of NEK TV, Todd Pronto. Welcome to the show, Todd.
Thanks. Thank you.
You know, it seems kind of funny welcoming you to the show at your station.
I know. I usually I'm doing what you're doing.
Right.
So who's interviewing who?
Well, we'll let the viewers figure that one out by the time we're done. But the other connection we have is, well, you work at Moo, and if you recall right, maybe 5 years ago, you took this joker off the street. You kept telling him, hey, you want to do a radio show?
Right.
Because you needed, how come you needed that Vermont Voice radio show? It met some kind of criteria, right?
Yeah, public service announcements.
Right.
And we did a lot of like 30-second public service announcements. Right. You know, there's a ham dinner. But this was a way to track it and actually show that. And it ended up becoming, well, it's been going 5 years now.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 years. And you, wow. I remember you asked me, and I remember telling you, hey, listen, Todd, when there was public speaking in school, I would suddenly become sick, so I wouldn't have to go to school. Right. And then it was a couple months ago, maybe even 3 months ago, you lassoed me into this gig here.
Yeah, hey.
So, all right, I have the fame. Does fortune ever come with this job?
I don't think so.
So
not in this area, I would say.
Right. So you're also the executive director of this studio. What does that mean? What do you do?
Nothing.
Yeah. so you just come here and you hang out.
Yeah, I hang out on Facebook and.
Right.
It's a pretty laid back and pretty small facility. I mean, there's only 3 of us really here, so I think basically being the executive director means I get to do all the paperwork.
Right.
I mean, that's because we all do the filming, we all do editing. You know, we pretty much all do each other's jobs. I get to pay the bills and keep the books in check.
So are you a little bit like Steven Spielberg?
I mean, yeah, I guess, sure, yeah.
You see, because
I'm the executive producer.
Right.
Yeah.
So would you say your income is pretty much in the ballpark as his?
Yeah, well, a similar ballpark.
Right.
You know how like Wrigley is a grass field and so is Fenway?
Right.
Kind of like that.
Okay. So let's back up a little bit. Who is Todd Pronto? Because the first time I ever heard of your family is you grew up in a family of royalty.
Oh, a royalty?
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah, your father was the mayor of Newport. Mm-hmm. And did that ever give you any bennies in life?
I think, there's a bullying issue right now. I was never bullied in elementary school, and I had a few friends who were the bigger guys. Believe it or not, I was a scrawny little kid. I'm not anymore, but I had a few friends that would be like, this is the mayor's kid, and I don't know if they felt cooler hanging out with me or if I just felt good that they were there to protect me, but it was never really that big of a deal, really. I guess I was too young to understand what he did.
Right. And then you went into the music business. Mm-hmm. And so tell me a little bit about your music.
Well, it's changed a lot over the years. I started when I was, 15, 16 years old, in my parents' attic, having my parents yell up, "Are you done yet? Sounds horrible," We weren't the greatest band, but the more I got into it, I started really discovering, I started off listening to all the rock of the 90s, like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and stuff. I then discovered Bob Dylan in my parents' old record collections, and that kind of changed. And I ended up making my way to Nashville, which was a total surprise to me because I opened for another local singer-songwriter, Wayne Warner.
Right.
I opened for him, and his manager said, "We ought to get you down to Nashville." And I said, "I'm not a country singer," because I was doing folk music. It was just me and an acoustic guitar. He goes, it doesn't matter, does it? So I get to go down there and record, and just like everybody else, put the record out, then didn't have a record deal anymore, didn't go anywhere, moved back home with my tail between my legs. But I'm still doing it, I'm recording an album right now. It's being mixed in Los Angeles by another local boy, Steve Bertrand.
Okay.
Who he must have graduated a few years before I ever got to high school, but he moved off to LA and had some success in the music industry, and he's from Derby Line. So it's amazing the kind of ties that.
And before the show, we were talking about another person I interviewed recently on my radio show was Steve Moz, also graduated with you.
Yeah, same class.
And he's a filmmaker.
And he's like 7 foot tall, isn't he?
Yeah, something like that. 7'2", 7'3", I don't know.
I'd have to have him do a video for me.
Did you ever meet anybody of interest down in Nashville?
Yeah, oh yeah, tons of people. A lot of probably behind the scenes people. A lot of people wouldn't know, but I've met Travis Tritt, Tim McGraw, Toby Keith, Rascal Flatts. I don't really care for them, but Taylor Swift I know pretty well, actually. Right. Yeah, there's a bunch.
I'm an out of the closet Taylor Swift
You're
lover.
A fan?
Yeah,
I should get you an autograph.
I love her. I love her music. I will have to say though, I really think by the time she's 80, she probably needs to move out of the high school romance type of thing.
I agree. I think she should do that now.
Yeah.
Nashville's funny though. And I would assume it's like Los Angeles or something. You're in a restaurant and eating, and Brad Paisley comes in, and you don't run up to him and go, because it's a common occurrence. Right. You just kind of say, oh look, there's Brad Paisley right there.
Or kind of like we do with you when we see Todd.
Yeah.
Pronto, instead of running up and asking for your
when I'm
autograph.
at the east side, yeah.
So that's a common occurrence. But, I think this area is pretty similar, in all seriousness, because we do have some famous people who visit this area. One of them is Donald Sutherland, is a regular visitor here. Then to a lesser degree, we have Bill the Spaceman Lee, who lives in Craftsbury, Red Sox fame.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I don't think people really bother them. They're just ordinary people who have a bit different job than we do.
Years before, I became celebrity famous Northeast Kingdom style, I worked at the Derby Village store.
Right.
And you could tell when Donald Sutherland was in the store, because I was a stock boy, so I'd come from the back stock room, and you'd walk into the store, and the way people were like acting, you could just tell they were looking around, and they were really quiet. And we used to just joke about it. We'd be like, "Oh, Sutherland must be here," because people didn't really bother him, but they acted different. It was really funny.
The thing is, I wouldn't, because I'm not a movie watcher. To be honest, I wouldn't even have a clue who he was. I just wouldn't.
Really?
No. He could come up and ask me for directions or something, and I wouldn't know who it was.
That's funny.
So, but down in Nashville, that's a common occurrence where you're just sitting there. But you being a country boy from up here, trying to get ahead in Nashville, there must be a part of you that wants to jump out of your skin and go right over and meet them, but you've kind of been told the protocol. Or is it an unwritten protocol?
It's an unwritten protocol, and there's, I don't really get starstruck per se, but there's a few people that I would consider a hero. And
you're talking about me.
And you, yes.
Yeah, of course. I knew you were. I knew you were implying that.
I was, yeah. This is a dream come true for me here today. But Steve Earle is one of my all-time favorites, and I'm not really a country person, right. More of an Americana mix. So the only time I really I was in a club and I was watching Tiff Merritt play, and I was right in front stage, and he was about 4 people to the left of me, And I was like, he's my idol, and I'm like, I've got to meet this guy. I'm just going to go over and meet him. By the time I got the courage up to go over there, he'd slipped backstage, and I didn't have the credentials to get backstage, and he did. So I guess that's the only time. But it's kind of an unwritten rule. But people still bug him. Of course, tourists are so happy to see that, you know.
But I think that's, you know, I see some people don't, you know, granted, the paparazzi, you know, that's overboard.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that's the price of fame, though. That, you know, you can pretend you don't like the attention, but, you know, those people also probably like the dollars, too.
Yeah, I think, celebrity politicians, same thing. Yeah. You're going to end up in newspapers. You're going to end up having rumors spread about you.
But, you know, I remember our good senator here, Senator Vince Luzzi, used to have a saying back in his early days, and I believe this is probably true even in the music world, is there's one thing worse than bad news for a politician, it's no news. As in, just as long as you're getting your words in your face in the newspaper. So you know, if I started a rumor about you and it got in the newspaper, it might shoot you to fame.
Yeah. Probably have to be a different newspaper, maybe a trade magazine.
Well, that's true too. So you haven't given up hope on Nashville?
No, I don't know if it's Nashville per se, but I'm still gonna put another album out, and I'm really gonna push this one when it comes out. With the internet nowadays, that's a big draw. You know, when I was doing the Nashville thing, we still weren't, you know, the internet was there, but it was in like 05 to like 07, and that's not, you know, nowadays nobody buys CDs anymore. You download. So I haven't given up hope. No, and I just put a band together, and we played last weekend.
So what's your band called?
We don't know.
You know.
We don't have a name. We're playing this coming weekend at the Elks benefit for Global Campus, and but the intent for this band, because we do all original music, and around here, you're not going to get hired a lot, to go hear my music. Right. But so we're going to be marketing the weekends in Boston, the weekends in Connecticut, and hopefully I'll make it with the music. If not.
Do you have to, the one thing about musicians that always amazed me, how do you remember all of those words from so many songs? Like, you've heard how I start out my shows sometimes. Sometimes just to get through the intro takes how many takes? How do you guys do that?
It's tough. And there's a song I wrote in 2000, maybe 1999, called Money in a Suitcase. Right. And it's like the song that most people, if you know my music, they know that, or they know the song about my first car. But Money in a Suitcase, I've been singing since let's say 1999. It's the only song of mine that's ever been on the radio, that's been on the internet radio. That one I actually made royalties from. I actually made a couple $10 on that song probably. And I can, to this day, be singing and come out of the solo and just completely forget the words. But I kind of cheat. I have kind of the cheap version of Obama's teleprompter. I have a music stand and I have all the lyrics there. And what I find is it's like a crutch. If it's there, I don't even look at it. But in practice a couple weeks ago, I gave my backup singer, she doesn't know the words. I said, here, I got it memorized. I never look at this. I gave her the music stand. I don't remember half the lyrics.
Oh, I could totally understand that. Now, my daughter is a connoisseur of all music, and actually, I think we talked about this a couple of years ago, I think you guys were razzing disco, and she thought, she loves disco. And you're talking about a kid who's 21 years old, and she's probably, I don't know, she's probably devastated that the Bee Gees are slowly dying off.
Robin Gibb or whatever.
Yeah.
She likes real disco, not...
Oh, yeah, wow. It isn't something that she sits down and listens to all the time. The only fad that she went through that I just really, I had a tough time with is, I see no redeeming value in rap. Now, that's very possibly just because I'm getting old. Now,
Maybe.
Have you ever tried rapping?
No. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
But you would have been dead by now because they shoot each other, rap singers do.
Yeah, that's why, East Coast, West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. The West Coast is a little better.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. I like certain types of rap. I don't like all of it.
Right.
But yeah, it might be your age. I don't know.
Right. So let's move up to the radio station. You've been there a long time, and as I said, you're the king of morning radio. But you also have the honors of working with side by side with the queen of morning radio, Devaney.
Yeah. That's actually how we met. I started, in 2011. I'd only been on the air about 3 weeks before the World Trade Center attacks.
Wait, 2011? 2001?
2001. No, you don't remember the 2011 attacks? No, 2001. And I'd only been on the air about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I cringe when I hear some of those tapes now. I haven't heard a tape of that day, but from how I sounded back then to where I've progressed to, has been amazing. And Devaney, I didn't have a co-host for the longest time, and she was heading up the Relay for Life committee. And so she called me and she said, "Can I come in and talk on your show about the Relay for Life?" And at that time, I didn't even know what the Relay for Life was, though I just lost my grandfather from cancer. So when she told me it was a cancer benefit, I said, "Oh yeah, this would be interesting." Well, we hit it off. I can't really explain it, and we're kind of best friends, brother and sister. But from that day forward, there was such chemistry that I pretty much convinced, I took tapes to my bosses, and I was like, "You have to put her on the air with me." And it took about a year and a half of her coming on her days off, and she was working in the school system, so if they had February vacation or whatever, and she'd come and do the show for free for a year and a half before they hired her. But now I think she's more popular than I am. I mean, if you read the paper the other day about the station being sold, they assured you, "Don't worry, Devaney's still going to be on the air in the morning." Did you see that?
My name didn't come up, did it?
No.
My radio show.
You're not on the chopping block yet.
No. Well, considering my pay scale, which is 0,
right?
I'm not too worried. But that's kind of the way we kind of met. Is, if I recall right, it was when I started running for office.
I think so.
I used to go on, and so you lassoed Devaney.
This is before Devaney, when you were running for office. Julie was kind of sneaking into being my co-host, wasn't she?
Actually, I didn't run for office until after 9/11.
Right.
So I came on later, but you like Devaney, you snagged her off the street, and then you felt sorry for me and
must have done the same thing.
Gave me a job that didn't pay anything.
I made all these people famous.
Yeah.
Jeez, what do I get in return?
And so what do you like do you like radio or TV better? Which one, or are they totally different?
They're not that different. I would say the behind the scenes stuff, I like television more. Behind the scenes in radio, you're just sitting there and you're pulling up faders. If you're running a Red Sox game or something, you listen to them say, "We'll be back, right after this," and you go to commercial, and then you listen to them say, "Okay, we're going to come back in 30 seconds," and it's incredibly boring. The television, the behind the scenes stuff is so cool because you've got the cameras and you're mixing audio, and you've got the visual, and you've got components that you don't even see going on when you're watching the television. But doing a morning show on the radio is very intriguing. Some mornings. Sometimes it's tough to get up, but radio's fun because you can kind of hide behind the camera, and the camera can't see you, and you can develop a persona that you might not really be in real life.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I can say stuff to people on the radio live that I would never say to them I would never say it to them in person. I could probably do it on television too, but Terry would have to protect me if they came lunging at me. Well, he's kind of down in that other room, so.
The other thing is, I find that on radio, and I will never be good at hosting my radio show and I'll never be good on this show just because I am who I am.
I think that's your charm, though.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you got
But
know.
the thing is I do like being behind a radio mic because, you know, you don't have to worry about how you're looking, whether your nose itches or something.
Right.
And you know, here you're out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. For those of you that have never been in the station, and you can come take a tour anytime. You know, we've got about 3 bright lights shining in our face, 2 lights behind us. You know.
I do have one complaint about the station though, because when I watch the
radio
shows,
watching?
Oh no, about this show.
Okay.
Because
that's what I do as an executive director too. I take complaints. So I'm ready.
In my mind, I still have a full head of hair. But when I am sitting watching this show, these cameras make it have an illusion that I'm losing my hair.
They do. I mean, I actually weigh 150 pounds, but these cameras just add a lot. You know, so the adverse effect, you lose hair, I gain weight. I don't know how these are horrible cameras. We need to get new ones.
Well, you do know that my wife, ever since she was a teenager, was going to marry somebody tall, dark, and handsome.
Yeah.
And look what she got. 27 years later, she's still hunting for tall, dark, and handsome. So let's go on to the show. What does NEK TV offer? Because, you know, to tell you the truth is, you asked me to come on and do a show for quite some time, and I said, Todd, you know, I don't think anybody watches this station.
Right.
Ever since I started this show, I can no longer go into a grocery store without somebody mentioning it. I have been astounded by the number of people who watch your channel. But I've also been amazed at all you offer. Like, I remember, last week, I had these 2 old VCR tapes, and I was moaning that I had to dig out my VCR and to watch them, and I knew the VCRs weren't going to be around forever. And he said, "Oh, I can transform it into DVDs." And one of your workers, Terry, within just a short period of time, took that VCR tape, which had a lot of historical stuff on it. He turned it into a DVD that now I can just throw in, and it was just for I guess you call it a donation?
It's a donation, yeah.
I was, you know, that service in its own, it was like, how many people have had, like, I'm sure your parents even have something about, you know, something with you being a little 3rd or 4th grader up on stage.
Probably,
that they would like to convert over, but I thought that alone. But what else do you offer here?
Well, that's a big one. We offer the opportunity to learn how to produce television shows. So, we'll get back to that. But you can come in here and we'll teach you from the very beginning of how to use a camera right up to the final stages of editing and producing, you know, a show that you want. We also are a forum for people to use to get their message out to the community. So similar to what you do. I mean, you use it to interview interesting people, but we have religious shows, we have politically incorrect shows. We're called public access television because we're accessible to the public. We also will go out and film events, and sometimes you might just see Brandy there with one camera filming a meeting, the Derby Select Board meeting or something. Or other times you might see us at the Haskell Opera House, like we did a few weeks ago, with 3 cameras and microphones doing a dance recital. So that's kind of what we do. We're not the media. You have to keep that separate. You know, we kind of just try to find public interest. And
you're not like the paparazzi either.
We're not. No, that's Chris Roy. And that's about, you know.
And this is not a one-man show. This is not the Todd Pronto show. How many workers do you have here? We have
3, including myself. We have a couple volunteers, one in his 60s, one is about 14, I think he is. We have community producers. We probably have 1, 2, 3, maybe 6 or 7. And And we just try to get different volunteers. So, like the last time we were out and about, I think Terry and myself were the employees, and the people running the 2 cameras, it was Mother's Day, so we let Brandy have the day off, were volunteers.
Did you dock her time, though?
We did, yeah. Okay. She hasn't seen her check yet, though. So. But, and we're looking for more volunteers as well. So if you're interested in learning anything about television production, we can always use somebody, especially when we go out on the road. And say, I had a guy ask me the other day, says, I love baseball. Can I do a show about baseball?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I think you interviewed him.
Yeah, he was one of my guests.
Absolutely, and if you're, if you're into whatever, soccer, you can come rent a camera and film a soccer game. We'll teach you how to edit it.
Yeah, because, I suspect that sometimes somebody will, any form of media, you always get complaints. Like, I'm sure you air something out there and a show, and they say somebody must call up, say, "Hey, that's a left-wing show. I don't want to listen to it." Would you say to them, "Oh, geez, would you like to come on and share your perspective?"
That's exactly what I do. If you remember, at the very beginning, we had you sign a piece of paper that says that you're technically the producer of this show.
Right.
So if somebody wants to complain about it, it's not to us, really. It's you take responsibility. Not like your show's outrageous and you're going to be offending a lot of people, but and that's one of the reasons why we do that. And you'll find, and we do get that complaint that we're more left wing. But the fact of the matter is they're the ones that utilize us for some reason, And I've definitely offered. Say, why don't you come do a show, or here's all the information you need.
So you can't come here though and host a adult film show.
I'd have to check the rules on that. I mean, you certainly could probably produce one for your own personal use. We might not air it.
So,
or maybe it'll be on at 3 a.m.
So what channel do you air on?
We are on Comcast only, or you might be watching us on the internet. That's something that we just started doing. Comcast channels 15 and 17. And the reason for the 2 channels is the content. So 15 is your education, your sports, and your government.
Right.
And 17 is kind of like your arts, everything else.
So where do I fit?
You are on 17. You're under community of current events is what we put you under.
Right.
Because that's mostly, you usually have somebody coming in.
So have you had any? As I was telling you, you were the one who had me come and do this show. Have you had any regrets yet as you're trying to edit out my bloopers?
Sometimes.
You have. Yeah, but I've given you a lot of laughs. Like
you have.
Like the time that my cell phone went off and I took off, and I'm sitting here trying to find my cell phone. And there's been, you have a whole slew for a blooper film.
I think there'll be a feature film coming out soon.
Right.
But I don't have enough yet. It's not. I mean, editing's what we do. So I write down now.
Yeah.
I say, oh, Scott messed up at 11 minutes in,
and then 12 minutes in, then 13.
Then 13:04, and yeah.
But on a serious side, I think we've really, because when I say we. That's what I mean, because I might be the host, but the behind-the-scenes stuff is the real work. But, I look at the Vietnam, the piece we did with the 3 Vietnam veterans, as far as I'm concerned, is between the 2 of us, that was just an outstanding piece. That should be an award-winning piece. And I've enjoyed my radio show, whether I survive the new owners.
We're both there. Yeah, we'll see.
But
you'll have this still.
Yeah, I'll still have this, and the viewers can always, maybe during my show, everybody runs to their. I don't know. They don't even have knobs anymore, do they?
Not really. Most TVs don't.
They just click and change the channel.
Do you think more people watch the show than listen to the radio show?
It's really tough. Because I'll tell you why it's tough is because I put them both out on the internet.
Right.
I cannot tell you. I think they play off of each other. I think if you love my program, you go from you go to one to the other, And there's probably people who just said, can't we just get away from him? We find him in the newspaper. Now we have to put up with him on the radio. We have to put up with him on TV. Can he just go away? But, you know, the truth be told is I think my parents thought that when I was growing up, too. Will he just go away?
You're used to it then.
Yeah. But
I think that's good, though. I mean, you preserve history. You've got your own. The new journal just came out, or maybe I got an advance copy.
You got an advance copy. Yeah, June issue.
Yeah, North Troy.
Yep.
I was reading a little bit about that this morning.
Okay, Todd. There's one thing that we're both horrible at is sticking to the time, but we're just about ready to wrap up.
Oh, we are.
What now would you like to tell the viewers about the station, about yourself?
Yeah, boy, I wear so many hats. How
many business cards do you have?
I only have one, just for here. I'm actually kind of a low man on the totem pole at the radio station. I'm just kind of that guy that doesn't shut up in the morning. But yeah, come into NEK TV if you have any interest in film, editing, learning, you want to volunteer, we'd love to have you.
And where are you located?
We're located on East Main Street, right after Cumberland Farms, in the same building as Comcast. And yeah, if you need anything duplicated, let us know. We'll assist you. We'll assist you in any way we can.
Right.
As far as my music goes, please go to iTunes and buy my music. Maybe someday I can retire a rich man. ToddPronto.com. What else do I have?
Well, I think you will probably be letting me know when Steven Spielberg does contact you about.
It's probably soon.
Right, because I imagine that you will probably be encroaching upon his turf at some point.
At some point, yeah.
Right.
Well, we're going to start getting into special effects with this show.
Right.
You know.
So. All right. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming on my show in your station.
Yeah, hey, you know.
And I want to thank the viewers for tuning in today. Thank you.